Here is the fruit for the growers to pluck, for the rain to gather, for the wind to suck, for the sun to rise, for the trees to dry.
He has the voice of an angel. And I have to tell you, sir, the way that you transition between your octaves, immaculate. I mean,
Oh, thank you.
you're
Thank you.
welcome. So, my first question is tell us a little about yourself. See, it was simple.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm Obi. I am other than a singer, I guess. I'm just a human. Somebody asked me that question yesterday. And I kind of struggle with finding an answer, but I think I've got an answer for today. I'm just a human going through life as like us all. And I was born with a propensity and with a this inner desire to express myself in ways that devoided like letters and numbers. I feel like for the most part, the way that we are taught to express ourselves and to communicate with one another is through words and numbers, right? And I've always found such a beautiful affinity with expressing myself in ways that is outside of that, right? So through melodies, through notes, through the artistic experience. So of course, music is a huge companion of my life, a beautiful companion, a loving companion, toxic companion, heartbreaking, to be completely honest. Which I think those are descriptors that a lot of artists use to talk about their art. The artistic experience can be life-giving, but can also be heartbreaking, right? And I think it's important that we talk about both of those moments. Um, uh, I think many times as humans, we only talk about the great moments when things go right,
Right.
right? Well, I'm the product of a lot of mistakes that I've done in my life, but I take more left turns than right turns, right? But those left turns also make me who I am. So yeah, who is Obi? Obi is just a human that is going through life, is grateful for where he is, and is grateful for the unmerited support that he's been receiving as of lately. It's kind of humbled and overwhelmed by it, actually.
Well, you are a phenomenal singer, so it's only fair to have that support.
Thank you.
Now, you're welcome. How old were you when you found your range?
Great, great question. It was always there. It was always there, but I come from Italy, so I think for a lot of black singers, especially coming from the soulful tradition, it's most of us learn how to sing in church.
Right,
That wasn't really my experience because, what we call here in the States as the black church, of course, we don't have that in Italy, where I'm from. I'm
right,
from a very, 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 very small village. But I've always been drawn to dramatic singers. I've always had an affinity for female singers because I feel like many times female singers don't have that restraint that perhaps male singers have in terms of like there's only so much you can do because otherwise you could be called dramatic, extra, whatnot, right? Many
right.
times female singers don't have that. So I was always drawn to female voices. And I always sang in that kind of higher tessitura, if you will, but I think of course, my voice dropped once I hit puberty. So that high tessitura became a falsetto type of
Hmm.
singing. Still wanted to sing up there. I just couldn't
Right.
go full chest voice. So, I was singing that way, but I would be a liar if I didn't say that, I was kind of ridiculed for that. I was kind of growing up, I was ridiculed for that register. I was told you sound like a girl, you sound girly, you sound effeminate, effeminato. So that was definitely something that I wasn't doing in public. I was still doing it
Hmm.
in within the four walls of my room, but I wasn't marketing myself as that type of singer until I moved to London. Once I turned 18, I started, you know, taking my steps and really start. That's really what I call my formative years, and I started working with different people. And somebody whose musical taste and opinion I truly respect heard me trying to go somewhere.
Hmm.
And he was like, "What is that?" And I was like, "It's something I do, but don't worry, I'm not gonna do it on my own." He was like, "No, do it more. That's a beautiful thing
Wow.
to have." So at that point, I was like, "Actually, I've been doing it for the past 20 years."
Okay, period.
So that kind of gave me the encouragement to really perfect it, if you will. So, when it comes to my singing, I think my voice is pretty spoofable, impressionable, because there are things that are very specific about what I do that I like to do for me
Hmm.
to enjoy what I'm doing. I like high notes. I like going from high to low, from low to high within two notes, within one breath. I like bending the notes. I like glissandos. I like adding breath to add even more notes into a syllable. I like moving from a metallic sound, metallic tone to a more grittier tone. I like brown notes. Those are things that I like to do to kind of like for me to enjoy what I'm doing.
Right.
So, those are things that little by little I just honed more and honed in a little bit more. And of course, we thank God for improvement. I think I love learning. I love improving. I love being able to. I think a lot of artists do that, right? I will listen to something that I recorded 2 years ago and I go, "Ugh, that's gross."
Oh,
Mind you, but perhaps probably back then I thought, "Oh, this is great," but now I listen to it back and I'm like, ugh,
right.
what I could do so much better now. So, it's a learning process, a learning curve. And I'm very open about the fact that I wasn't a musical prodigy. I wasn't a child prodigy. When I think about that, I think Jasmine Sullivan at 8 years old singing Home, singing with so much passion and depth and maturity. It was like, how can you be eight? I wasn't one
Right.
of those. I was one of those. There's a lot of time, beautiful time that I looked forward into putting that went into perfecting the artistry, though I never went to vocal lessons. And but yeah.
Well, you're a bomb. So jazz is your dominant genre, but you also sing R&B. Was
Yeah.
it difficult to hone into R&B?
Um I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say so. Jazz is definitely somewhere I've learned to sing in soul music. So
Hmm.
60s, 70s, that's where I've learned those soulful inflections, right? But then jazz is really where I discovered my identity. And jazz is honestly what I feel like I sound the best. Pretty
Hmm.
honestly. It's a comfort zone, it's my safe zone. I just feel really good when I'm there. R&B, I love R&B. I love the tradition of R&B, um, especially when it comes to the neo soul side of things, right? So the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, it's an album that I wish I could make an album like that. Maxwell, Erykah Badu, Jill Scott, Ledisi, and a lot of neo soul. There's a lot of jazz in that. There's a lot of
Right.
jazz in the neo soul movement. So perhaps that's why I have such an affinity with it. But yeah, no, I don't think, you know, art, music is free form. You
Facts.
don't control the music. Music controls you. So I think many times as artists, the minute we things start going wrong is when we try and
Maneuver.
maneuver the art, right? Like it's like you have a wheel, and that many times that's when things really start going wrong. I think the beauty of art is a rebellious bird. You cannot
Hmm.
it. You cannot tame it. It cannot be tamed by your expectations. It cannot be tamed by commerce. It cannot be tamed by the industry. It's a free-flowing, rebellious bird, right? So, but that's also what makes it what it is.
Right. Um, Now, in many of your interviews, and just like you just said a while ago, you're not even a while ago, like probably 3 minutes ago, you're always willing to learn. So you are a sponge soaking up information. Now, of all the countries that you've lived and performed in, what country grew you as a singer the most?
London, living in
London.
the UK, London for sure. That was definitely, I spent almost 10 years in London. And those were my formative years. Those were the years where I put in, as I said, a lot of time learning the craft in order for me to get to a place where I could respect it. I could get to a place where I could be of service to
Mm.
the art. Honestly, my fondest memories is being in my 20s and being at the Ronnie Scotts. Shout out to the Ronnie Scotts for how much they contributed to the Obii sound. Ronnie Scott's Jazz Club is an esta it's such an establishment in Europe. Anyone in jazz has, performed there. Nina Simone, Ella Fitzgerald, everyone. So I was able to be part of an avant-garde, an upcoming um group of singers, right, that would perform. The Ronnie Scott has an upstairs and a downstairs. The
Mhm.
downstairs is established folks. Upstairs is for like the up and coming. So I spent a lot of days, a lot of weeks, 5 years of my life upstairs every Tuesday on a residency, 10 p.m. I started as an opening act, and by the time I moved to America, to the States, I was headlining the showcase that would then turn into a jam. So I do remember, at that point I was doing nothing but music. So I would be home listening to Nina Simone, listening to Sarah Vaughan live at Tivoli Ballroom, live in Tokyo, all these seminal albums, Ella Fitzgerald live in Berlin, learning the songs and then giving them to my band at 8 p.m. Okay, we're doing the songs tonight, and then practicing them, and the crowd at the Ronnie Scott's upstairs is pretty similar to the Apollo, meaning that if they don't
Mm.
like you, they
Oh,
you're
wow.
gonna leave crying, right? Because most people that are there are not there to listen to you.
Right.
Uh, they're there to get drunk. They're there they're there to have a party. So they will literally talk over your set to the point that you won't even be able to hear yourself because everybody's having a conversation while you're trying to have a performance. So there's been a few times, I think my very first performance there, and I talk about it a lot, is I think it was my second performance there. And everybody was talking, but by the end of the set, the place was just so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. And it's smoky there. It's very smoky. The lights are low, so you can't really see anything, but you hear that little by little, all the voices start dissipating, and all of a
Mhm.
sudden you sing it. And I remember the house photographer telling me that that has happened only a handful of times in the hundreds of years that the place has been open.
Wow.
So that was one of those moments that, I was still in my 20s, still wrapped up in my 20s rebellion and all my insecurities and figuring out who I was. But that was one of those moments that I felt like, I don't know what it is. I don't know what's going to come out of this, but that felt good. And I want to keep feeling that. I want to keep having that beautiful experience. I don't know where this is going to take me, but I must be doing something decent.
Well, it did because now you're doing live performances and you have a live body of work. So can you
Yes.
tell us about that?
Yes, of course. So I 2025 has been such a productive year. I have two main body of music. The first one is they're both live projects, and I can definitely talk about why they're live projects. But the first one is live Obii Live. It's I believe it's 12 tracks if you consider also the interludes, the spoken interludes of like live music. It's a mixture between jazz, soul, R&B, cover and originals. And that's also where the Strange Fruit song is included that was recorded. That's coming from that album. And then I have another EP, live EP called Live at Bruno's, which is more recent. Actually came out this month, which is a shorter, more compacted collection of intimate song in a more intimate acoustic setting. Um, a lot of people ask me why live stuff, right? Again, going back to the R&B tradition and whatnot, I feel like, that has raised some questions, but for me, it was such a no-brainer because um, all my favorite artists have live music.
Right.
My favorite artists have extensive live material. Like I was saying before, Ella Fitzgerald live in Berlin, 1960, she won the Grammy Hall of Fame because of that album. Sarah Vaughan live at Tokyo, 1985. Donny Hathaway live at the Troubadour Los Angeles, 1971. I could go on and on and on and on. All of my favorite artists have extensive live material that you could stream, listen to. And I have an affinity with that because I do consider myself a live singer that records.
Hmm.
Most times it's the other way around. You're a recording singer and you record and then you do live shows. For me, it starts live. It
Right.
all starts live. That's where I start. That's where my musical identity. That's where I learn how to sing. That's where I learn how to write music. I'm intoxicated with sound. I'm intoxicated with live sound. And that's something that Layla Hathaway talks about a lot. She's like, I'm intoxicated by the sound. And when she said that, I was like, I know what you mean, because it's the same thing. And I do consider the voice as a instrument at the same level of a saxophone, a guitar, a piano. So I take that very seriously. So for me, it was such a no-brainer for me to have a live music because if you were really, somebody told me one time, Miss Adina Howard told me one time, always, whenever you do make your debut, always be careful how you do your debut because that's how folks are going to
Remember.
anything that comes after that, they're always going to compare it to your debut.
Hmm.
And for me, it was like, well, I'm a live singer, so my debut has to be live,
Right.
you know, because that's who I am, and I really don't think that's ever going to change, right? Um, that's what thrills me. That's what excites me. So that for me was such a no-brainer for me to have a live material.
Right. Your videos are live, so I knew that
Mhm,
you had an affinity for live
mhm,
music.
mhm.
Um, what's your favorite musical experience?
That I had.
Yes.
Oh, you're in my biz, I'm kidding. And
Hey.
the reason why I tell you just so you're gonna realize why I said that. Um, Definitely the one and Ronnie Scott's the one that I described before, where kind of like the public are quiet. But though I'm still in this, people are still discovering me. I think not a lot of people know that I actually retired from music. I've been at this for almost 15 years.
Wow.
Um, uh, ev Everything that's coming my way now, and God's willing, will continue to bless me with. Don't think I'm saying to Gerald, please do not think that, this has been 15 years going. So, like I started saying before, the music, art, it can be heartbreaking. It can be earth-shattering because there's so many different, and there's so many different factors that goes into being successful that many times has
Mhm.
nothing to do with someone's talent, right?
Facts.
And especially with social media, I am a later millennial, so I've seen this in the I've literally witnessed the shift going from buying CDs and playing CDs. I think I'm the last generation of folks that actually played CDs on their car to now everything is digital and everything is algorithmic and everything is like it's not about your talent, it's about what's on my timeline. That could be
Right.
very depressing. So I'm saying all of this to say that I call 2022, 2023 my lost years because I retired. I
Hmm.
was for good, for good. It wasn't like a going out sad type of retirement. It was more of I think I had everything that I wanted. I went out and did all the things. I
Hmm.
enrolled into school. I got my master's.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'm actually getting my PhD now. So, um, I went out and do other things, right? Kind of going back to what the Bible says, the Lord gives you so many talents, you
Hmm.
have to use all of your talents. So I was like, okay, I've used the talent of music for 12 years. I might as well just go and do something else. But music kept on knocking on my door. Uh, my band kept on knocking on my door. Clients, bookers kept on knocking on my door. And for 2 years, it was no, no, thank you. Not interested. Because, I thought I lost it. I thought I lost it. And singing is such a singular thing because it has so much to do about here.
Right.
You can have the best voice, but if you're not confident that you can deliver, nothing's gonna come out. Even
Right.
if all the physiology here is perfect.
Right.
If you
Right.
don't believe that you're able to sing, nothing's gonna come out. So
Right.
that happened to me. I was just like, there's nothing. I can't sing no more. I can't sing anymore. Um, but little by little, people kept on knocking. So one time I said, okay, I'll do this show so you can shut up and leave me alone. But I'm still retired. And I did that show and I felt it wasn't like a big show. It was a very small show. It was a Sofar Sound show. I've been working with Sofar Sounds for years now. Very small show. But that was my first time back on the stage after 2 years. And I was on stage still telling the public, by the way, I'm retired, so I'm
Oh.
not doing this anymore. I was so jaded. I was so pointed on the fact that you're not gonna get me out of retirement, but that rush that I felt, that high that I felt. Though it wasn't substance induced, it was just the high of just being back on stage and singing the blues, singing Misty, singing all these songs that I haven't sang in such a long time. I felt such a high that I'm telling you, the next day I was hangover. I had a drop, I didn't have a drop, I didn't use anything at all other than I got myself so unused to that experience that my body is almost like it felt like a shoe that I've been wearing for 15 years and I got to wear it again. It felt like, oh, yeah, where have you been all my life? Again, it wasn't like a big festival. It wasn't the Grammys, right? But it was a me thing. It was a me.
Right.
It was a very personal and individual experience. And I've been back ever since. So God help me. But
Look at God. Well, it was like you said, music is like a marriage, but for you, it was like going back to that ex and having the feels all over again. So,
yes, yeah. It was an X of can we be good this time? Can,
okay.
can we work together? Can we talk this time? Is there a way for us to make it work? Right?
And be
And
serious. Yes.
yeah, and that I'm telling you, from that show. Right after that show, I got the idea of doing a live album. And while I was rehearsing for that live album, my band member took the video of me rehearsing Strange Fruit. And you might have seen on my social media, there's a video of
Hmm.
me singing Strange Fruit. That video went viral. That video had more than 1 million views. And that video allowed me to record Strange Fruit. Everything started cascading,
Right,
right?
right.
And it's God has a sense of humor, I tell you, because
But
it's
when God said move your feet, you move your feet, and you were like, get away from my door. So,
yeah.
you
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. God has a sense of humor because it was almost like it's almost like sometimes I think about it like God, are you waiting for me to go back to school, be done, to say, okay, let me show you something now, right? And that's why I love him so much because you plan things. You know, this was
Period.
supposed to be my 20s. This was supposed to be when I was 24, you know, and I'm not 24 anymore. And there's so many times when I feel like, okay, I'm past my prime. This is post prime. And then it's
Right,
like, please no. Okay, this is my prime. So I know everything after this is post prime. And God is like, no, no, you're not. Shut up. Right. Let me
right.
I'll tell you what to do, right? So yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now I'm getting in your business.
Yeah.
I mean, I have two more because I am the cheap blogger. So I only
Yeah.
got 30 minutes. So I want to ask this question and I hope you don't get offended.
Yes.
Now, you had a hard time trying to find your place in the universe as a Nigerian and Italian singer. How do
Yes.
you move forward knowing that you may never find what that looks like? Would you be okay with that being this unique vessel that God created?
You answered the question. Answer the question. Let me tell you why you answered the question because I want to thank you so much for asking me this question because this is definitely I can tell that you've definitely done your research and this is such a beautiful question and nobody ever asked me that on record. So I'm so glad, thankful that I get to answer it. But that's my storyline.
Mhm.
I'm Italian, but most Italians don't look like me. So Italian people, I don't think people know that in Italy, even if you're born in Italy, you're not Italian by default.
Right,
Italians didn't look at me as if I was Italian because they saw me as Nigerian. Nigerian folks don't see me as Nigerian because I've never lived in Nigeria. I'm the kid of immigrants. I've been an immigrant my whole life. I moved to London, was an immigrant. I'm here, in the States. So the States is the third country that I call home. And because my parents were immigrants in the first place, I'm so used to not rooting myself somewhere for too long that, once you hit your 30s, I feel like that's when you kind of start looking back a little bit because you've got 30
right,
plus years behind you. So I start thinking, do I find it hard to call someplace home for real?
mm,
Because I'm
right,
always looking somewhere else. Where else can I go? What else can I do? Right?
right,
So I'm saying this to say that, I have asked myself that question, the question of like, perhaps I just have to get okay with never fully belonging somewhere.
right,
And perhaps there is a more therapeutic and healthier way to express that. Because I feel like me saying not belonging somewhere perhaps has a connotation, a negative connotation.
right,
Because perhaps right now I'm at a point where I can celebrate that.
right. Your
I
uniqueness.
Yes, yes, yes. Because, we're human beings. We all want to belong. We all want to feel like we're not crazy. We all want to feel like we're not the only one.
Right,
But I'm so, I've always, my whole life, even as a kid, I've always been pointed out for one reason or another. The finger's always been pointing towards me. Um, which also makes me think, is that why I started performing? Because I got so used to kind of like be pointed out. And I guess the stage is like the ultimate form of being pointed, right?
right, right.
So is that just almost like a safe space for me to be at on stage because of that? So I don't completely have an answer, right? I still consider myself fairly younger of age, and
Mhm.
who knows how long I'm gonna be here. So, but part of me wants to find some place where I could call home, but home sometimes is in the people around you, your family. Home is where
Right.
it is. It's not necessarily a geographical location. Um, yeah. I don't know if I have a complete answer just yet.
And that's okay. It's just like home is what you make it.
Yeah.
You're a nomad. Where you uproot and you go perform and you find family, you haven't met a stranger yet.
Yes. And there's folks that you meet, they're there for a season. They're not meant to be in your life forever.
Right.
They're there to play a pivotal part in that season of your life for you to learn something out of it. There's people that perhaps the people that I called close even 10 years ago, not the people that are close to today. So, I invite change, I invite evolution, I invite development, I invite learning. I love learning. That's why I'm so into education. I just love going to bed knowing that I know more than what I knew when I woke up, when I got out of bed in the morning. I think that's something that a lot of people shy away from, but I love that. I love feeling like, wow, I didn't know that. I love those moments.
Oh no, you're intellectual. There is no doubt about it. I seen one of your videos. You had your sweater draped around your shoulders. You had your cup of, I don't know if it was tea or water, and you were getting ready to get into it. So, in a good way, but it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
profound. So, I consider you esoteric.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. People used to call Nina Simone esoteric as well, so I'll take that. I'll take that.
Yes, yes, esoteric. So, what more do you want to do with your music? I predict you to be singing on a stage in a movie score, maybe James Bond.
Please give me James Bond. That's oh, please. This moment, please. Somebody time screenshots, timestamp this. I would love that. I
Right.
would love that. I would love to write a song for that. Um, One thing I learned about faith is a big thing in my life. So one
That's
thing I
right.
learned about God is that you think you've seen it all. God is like, listen, brace yourself. You ain't seen nothing.
Right.
So even what I get to do right now, I'm like, I would have never thought I would have been able to do. So I can only imagine what God has in store for me. But I definitely would love to tour, definitely would love to do festival, definitely would love to keep making music, having this type of conversations. I'm hyperverbal. I could talk all day. I love talk. Um, and I'm just very humbled and overwhelmed in a positive way from the perception because I spent so much of my 20s thinking, should I sing more straight R&B, some mainstream R&B? Should I be more palatable? Am I too unique? Is that
Mhm,
what's happening for me? And the minute I let go of all the insecurities and I truly just started doing me,
mhm.
that's really when things started moving for me. A lot of people, when I told them I was going to release Strange Fruit, Amos first single, they would looked at me like, are you insane? Why would you do that? Strange Fruit out of all songs. And I knew what I was trying to do. I knew what I was trying to do. And, I'd like to think that I'm in here having this beautiful conversation with you because of those decisions. Most of my best decisions are decisions that where I trusted my gut feeling.
Right.
Um, Going back to school, getting my PhD, all those getting sober, all those were decisions that I didn't think too much over it. I just woke up one day, I was like, okay, I'll stop doing X, Y, and Z. I'll start doing X, Y, and Z. So I would love to do a lot more music, but I trust him. He knows because he knows better than I. And I just want to make sure that I continue listening to him, keep my ears open to him.
Well, you just keep doing what is natural and everything will flow. And with that said, can you give viewers your website information and your IG information and your
Absolutely.
TikTok?
Yes. So the beautiful thing, again, God works beautifully, is that everything can be found under This Is Obii. This is Obii, Obii, two eyes at the end. And I guess I'm the only Obii in the world because I was able to, to snatch that in every
Thank you,
single.
Lord.
It's the same handle everywhere. My website is This Is Obii, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, all of them. This is Obii. I didn't have to add an extra. No, everything is This Is Obii. Of course, my two live albums are out right now. Live Obii Live, with Strange Fruit, and my live EP. There's more coming up. There's a lot of things happening behind the scene. Shout out to the Groove Magazine, the people at Groove Magazine over in Atlanta. I don't know why, but they put me on their cover, which is
Look
coming
at
out
God.
next tomorrow is coming out. It's coming out tomorrow and tomorrow Friday, so August the 29th. And I'm so grateful for them for the support. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for
Thank
you. I've
you.
been looking forward to this conversation. So thank you all so much.
Here is the fruit for the growers to pluck, for the rain to gather, for the wind to suck, for the sun to rise, for the trees to dry.